Dear child, you didn't arrive here by chance. Something guided you, quietly and gently, to this moment. That's why your heart feels different today. There's a strange pull inside you, a heaviness and a hope at the same time. You may not fully understand it, but you've been sensing that something is shifting. Little emotional waves, sudden thoughts, a feeling that won't let you settle. This is because something important is unfolding, and your spirit feels it before your mind can explain it. Your soulmate has received news that changed them deeply. Not small news, not ordinary news. Something that shook them awake, something that forced them to face what they've been avoiding for a long time. They weren't searching for signs. They weren't expecting clarity, but it came anyway, through a moment they couldn't ignore. It might have been a phone call, a dream, a realization, or a situation that made everything suddenly feel urgent. And when it happened, something inside them broke open. They finally understood that delaying is no longer possible, that fear can't lead anymore, that love must speak now. And the truth they saw so clearly was you, not later, not someday, you. This is why you've been restless. This is why your emotions have been unpredictable. This is why your spirit hasn't felt calm, because you are connected. When their heart shifted, yours felt the echo. When they struggled inside, you sensed it without knowing why. Their soul has been crying, and your soul has been hearing it. They've tried to move on before. They've tried to forget you. They've tried to be normal and convince themselves that the connection wasn't real. They distracted themselves with work, people, routines, and noise, but none of it worked. No one replaced you. Nothing filled the space you left. Even when they went quiet, even when distance grew, you never left their inner world. You stayed in their thoughts, their prayers, their dreams. Recently, they reached a breaking point. The pressure became too much. Holding everything inside started hurting more than the fear of speaking. Nights became heavy. Sleep became restless. Their chest felt tight. They thought of you constantly. They remembered your voice, your presence, the way you made them feel understood and calm. And they realized they couldn't keep carrying this alone anymore. This isn't just about attraction for them. This feels serious, deep, meaningful, something they don't want to lose. That's why they haven't rushed back carelessly. Behind the scenes, they've been working on themselves, reflecting, healing, trying to grow, trying to become steady enough to come back with honesty instead of confusion. Not perfect, but sincere. Not fearless, but brave enough. If they've been silent, it wasn't always because they didn't care. Sometimes it was because they cared too much and didn't want to come back half-ready. They didn't want to bring chaos into your life. They didn't want to speak until they were sure of what they felt. And now they are sure. They are preparing to reach out, not casually, not just to check in. They're coming with intention, with a decision, with truth. They may feel nervous. They may be scared of how you'll respond, but their love is louder than their fear now. They would rather risk honesty than live with regret. They've been rehearsing what they want to say, thinking carefully about their words. They want to honor this moment. They don't want to mess it up. They've been imagining how it would feel to finally tell you everything they've been holding back. How long they've missed you. How much you still matter. How they can't imagine a future that doesn't include you. This is why your dreams have been intense. Why your heart has been racing. Why tears have come without warning. You're sensing them drawing closer emotionally and spiritually. And soon, it may happen in the physical world too. A message, a call, an attempt to meet. And when it happens, it will feel different, calm, clear, real, not dramatic, not confusing, just honest. They're not coming with excuses. They're coming with truth. They're not bringing small talk. They're bringing intention. They're shifting their life, making room, letting go of distractions, because they don't want to lose you again. They're choosing courage over fear, truth over silence. When they speak, it won't feel like fantasy. It will feel like relief, like peace, like something finally returning to where it belongs. You won't have to guess. You won't have to chase. You'll know. So stay open. Don't let old pain close your heart now. Don't let doubt convince you this can't happen. You didn't force this. You didn't chase it. You waited. You trusted. And now something is aligning. This is a spiritual reflection, not a prediction. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. But if your heart feels seen, if your spirit feels stirred, it's because something real is moving closer. They are coming with truth in their mouth and a decision in their heart. And the news they carry may leave you emotional, not because it hurts, but because it finally brings clarity, healing, and peace. Their heart feels like it's breaking open, not because of pain, but because of love that has grown too strong to stay hidden. It's a breaking that comes from truth finally rising to the surface, from urgency that can no longer be ignored. For them, this moment is no longer about waiting for the perfect timing or trying to control outcomes. It's about doing what they know deep down they were always meant to do. Somewhere along the way, they realized that resisting this connection only made it stronger. No matter how far they tried to go, no matter how much they distracted themselves, the pull toward you never faded. Instead, it matured. This love doesn't feel dramatic or chaotic to them anymore. It feels settled, grounded, and sure. It feels like something that was planted a long time ago and has slowly grown roots beneath the surface. Even when circumstances didn't allow it to bloom openly, it was still alive, still growing, still shaping them. Now it has reached a point where it can no longer remain unspoken. What they feel isn't a passing emotion or a moment of nostalgia. It's a knowing, and that knowing has brought them to a decision they can't undo. They aren't coming back to revisit old conversations or reopen wounds just to see what happens. They aren't reaching out to test the waters or to soothe loneliness. They're coming because they've chosen you in a real and deliberate way. They want you to feel that choice clearly, so clearly that it quiets the doubts you've carried and releases the pressure you may have felt to prove yourself or chase love. This time, the movement isn't coming from confusion. It's coming from clarity. It's steady. It's intentional. It's sincere. They've spent a long time reflecting on the future, not in a vague or dreamy way, but in a grounded, realistic way. They've been asking themselves hard questions about commitment, responsibility, and what it truly means to build a life with someone. They've thought about where they want to live, how they want to show up emotionally, and how to communicate the things they once avoided saying. They've realized that love without honesty eventually collapses, and they no longer want that kind of love. They want something real, something that can hold weight, something that can last. Because of that, they've done inner work they once postponed. They've faced fears they used to run from. They've looked at patterns that didn't serve them and made conscious efforts to change. This didn't happen overnight. It took time, setbacks, and moments of deep self-reflection. There were times they questioned themselves, times they felt unworthy, times they wondered if it was too late. But even in those moments, the truth kept coming back to you, not as pressure, but as clarity. What they want now is not just romance or chemistry. They want depth. They want intimacy that goes beyond words and appearances. They want a connection where both people can be fully themselves without fear of being misunderstood or abandoned. They want to feel safe being honest, and they want you to feel safe too. They're no longer interested in pretending or performing. They want something genuine, something that feels like home. When they think of you, what stands out the most isn't excitement mixed with anxiety. It's peace, a calm that settles their thoughts and steadies their heart. That peace feels different from anything else they've known. It doesn't demand anything from them. It doesn't rush them. It simply reassures them. And that reassurance has become their confirmation that this connection is aligned with who they are becoming. It's why they're preparing to speak now. After so much silence, when they finally do speak, it won't feel casual or careless. Their words will carry weight because they've been held back for so long. You'll feel the sincerity in how they express themselves, even if they struggle to find the perfect phrasing. It may bring healing simply because the truth is finally being spoken. Things that felt unresolved may suddenly make sense. Pain that lingered without explanation may finally feel acknowledged, and in that honesty, a new beginning will quietly open. They're moving toward you now with a different energy than before. Not rushed, not fearful, not uncertain. They're moving with faith in what they feel and hope for what can be built. They're no longer trying to be the person they thought they were supposed to be. They're showing up as who they truly are, with more self-awareness and emotional maturity. They've learned that avoiding truth doesn't protect anyone. It only delays healing. You might find yourself surprised, not because they came back, but because of how grounded and serious they are now. The depth of their love may feel different, heavier in the best way. It's not intense in a chaotic sense. It's intense because it's rooted. It's steady. It's intentional. You may sense that this is something they didn't decide lightly. It's something they've carried quietly, sometimes painfully, until they were ready to honor it properly. This moment feels protected in a way that's hard to explain, as if everything that needed to fall away has already done so. They've replayed conversations in their mind, imagined how you might respond, and questioned whether they could handle vulnerability. But even with all that uncertainty, they've reached a point where staying silent feels more painful than speaking. They're ready to say that they choose you, not as an impulse, but as a decision rooted in growth. When they open up, they won't come halfway. They won't minimize their feelings or hide behind excuses. Even if their voice shakes, they'll speak honestly, and what they say may feel familiar to your soul, as if it echoes something you always sensed but never had confirmed. That recognition may be emotional, not because it's shocking, but because it's validating. They're not coming with grand promises meant to impress. They're coming with change you can feel, with responsibility, with a different way of communicating, with consistency instead of mixed signals. And in that moment, you may realize that this journey was never just about waiting for the right time. It was about both of you becoming capable of holding something real without breaking it. They may share parts of their story they've never shared with anyone else, not to seek pity, but to create understanding. They may pause, gather themselves, or even cry, because vulnerability carries weight. They may admit that life without you never felt quite right, even when they tried to convince themselves otherwise. They may talk about wanting a future where your presence is not optional, but central. If you've ever felt forgotten, this moment gently reminds you that you weren't. If you felt delayed, it shows that preparation was happening beneath the surface. They've had to let go of distractions, beliefs, and even relationships that didn't align with the life they now want. Those choices weren't easy, but they brought clarity. And now they stand in a place where they feel ready to show up differently. They're not coming back to relive the past or repeat old cycles. They want to build something new, something healthier, something grounded in honesty and mutual respect. They want to create a future that doesn't keep reopening old wounds. They may tell you about the moment that changed everything for them, the moment they realized they couldn't keep running from what felt true. Because love that is real doesn't vanish. It waits. It grows. It returns with wisdom. It comes back not to take, but to give and to build. That's the energy surrounding this moment now. There's no need to brace yourself for disappointment. No need to expect rejection. What's approaching carries peace, not chaos. It may arrive unexpectedly, a message or a call that feels surreal after so much waiting. You may not immediately know how everything will unfold, but you'll feel calm. And that calm will tell you that you're safe to stay present. They're preparing space for you in their life, not just emotionally, but practically. They're thinking about permanence, about consistency, about building something that can endure. Even if they don't name it right away, their presence will communicate that they're here for the long term. They're no longer hiding behind fear, no longer stuck in indecision. This time, it's clear, it's honest, and when they finally speak, it may bring tears, not from sadness, but from relief. Tears that release years of tension. tears that confirm that your patience had purpose. This isn't desperation. This isn't illusion. This is love returning in a healthier form. And if this feels deeply personal, it's because it's touching the part of you that never stopped believing that love could come back transformed, grounded, and whole. So breathe, stay open, stay steady. The silence is ending. The truth is finding its voice. And what they're about to say may be everything your heart hoped for, spoken plainly, sincerely, and with a peace that settles deep within you.